Yeah, we about to. Genesis 8, the book of beginnings. And it says Noah built an altar unto the Lord and took of every clean beast and every clean fowl and earned for offerings unto the altar. And the Lord smelt a sweet Savior. And the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. Understand? So when we look at the talents, when we look at the ancient teachings, we was talking about nature, teachings of nature, the understanding of nature, the fingerprint of nature. So when we look here at Genesis, and it says, and the Lord smelled the sweet Savior, and said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground anymore for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done. While the earth remaineth at seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. So when we look at this covenant that we see in here, understand it's dealing with time, space, and matter. It's dealing with this process of nativity. So when we look at nativity and the consciousness of what they call Christ consciousness, and what some look at the netaru, the forces of nature. This is why the metaphysics, alchemy, science, the knowledge, right, has been important when we look at here what Noah is doing, forming an altar. It says Noah built it, an altar. So when we look at the priesthood and the altar in Noah, right, we're talking about giving thanks, the offerings. When we look at the many traditions that, because of Hellenism, right, have made us look at the ancient traditions, the ancient holistic shamanic traditions of dealing with matter and unseen matter, dealing with what some say the dead. So when we look at the priesthood and the process and dealing with the burial of the dead, historically we look at Jacob in Egypt and the mummification and the removing of the particular organs. So when we look here at Noah and he's building this altar and this burnt offering, when we look at some of the practices, some of the ancient practices and the uses of blood rituals. This is why even to this day we see the need of sacrificing kids. When you look at the kid goat and how these things symbolically have come to meaning sacrificing your own kid. When you see how the irony and how ironic certain things is. But when you look here at Noah, it's Noah that is building this burnt offerings on this altar. And the Lord smelled it. And the Lord said in his heart, now this is deep because you got to understand for 40 days or for 40 nights in the story of the flood and the forming of what we know as nightfall. And we understand this time, space, and matter continuum, this covenant that we are seeing being told in this narrative of Noah and the flood, and how the rituals played All right. So when we look here at the sacrificial offering that Noah made, and the smelling, the barbecuing, and you look at ancient America, and when we look at ancient America, and we look at burnt offerings, sacrifice in Mesoamerica, when we look at the rain god, Taltalk, or what some may know as Shakmu, right? When you look at the flood in Hebrew, this Mabul. So when you look at the connection of the water deity and the 90 degrees, the corner, the ark, right? When we're talking about an ark, we're talking about the significance of the ark, the building of bridges, the ability, the knowledge of the ark, the boats, the seamanship. When you look at seamanship, sperm, and the patriarchy, and coming back to fertility, the rain god, and sacrificial offerings of Noah after the flood here, and we see this sweet smelling Savior. And when we look at Mesoamerica, and we look at what they call the Shakamu, all right, they call Shakamu, all right, also known as, we can look at it as Tall Talk. And when we look at it as such, we're dealing with earthquakes, lightning, rain. So when we look at Baal, which would convert into this worship of what would be known historically in the Bible as Baal worship, which connects with the jaguar and connects with the underworld, the darkness, and Noah, and the understanding of the ark, building the ark, and the restoration of the covenant, and the sign of the bow, the seven, the September, and the bearing of September, the harvest, and how time would be calculated from the fall, winter, spring, summer. All right, we're talking about harvesting these different fertility rituals in regards to the flood that would take place from July and August into September, the corn for the winter. So when we look here at rain deities, fertility, and Noah, and God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply the earth. And it says, and the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea into your hand are they delivered. Right? This is the Most High talking to Noah. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb have I given you all things. All right, so this is where we see the biblical historical relevance of showing the transition of meat, referring to actual flesh. When we see in the beginning of Genesis, herbs are referred to as meat, but it's here in this particular portion where we first see meat being differentiated from the green herb. I have given you all things, but flesh with the light thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. So here we go, the blood ritual. All right, seeing here. So we look at the historical practices, the rituals. The kid goat and putting the blood on you, the drinking of the blood, and all these different things. All right. the many different skulls found in Mesoamerica in these different temples, right? When you look at that, and surely the blood of your lives will I require, at the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of man, and the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Who sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man. And ye be ye fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth and multiply therein. And God spake unto Noah and to his sons with him, saying, and I behold, establish my covenant with you and with your seed. Look at seed, yours after you, and with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. I will establish my covenant with you, neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood. Neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you, that every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations, I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. So look at the bow and the hatred of creation. Look at the cloud and the rainbow. So I'm saying the Anunnaki. When you look at the seven and the seven layers, oh my eyes. So whether it's the chakras or what they call the seven layers of heaven, which they highlight in Islam. But when you look at the earth and the layout of the earth and this covenant, this Ark of the Covenant, and what we're seeing being formed, and how this holy symbol now how it has come to be used in a prideful sense. When you look at it, was that energy, it was that vibration that brought about the flood, that brought about the destruction of the earth. So when we see here this cloud, this covenant between me and the earth, and it shall come to pass when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, and I may remember that everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. And the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the three sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. So when we look at the First Nations, the Table of Nations, what they say, the First Nations, when you look at prehistoric mound builders, you'll see that they were husbands. All right, so this relationship with nature was a marriage. You see what I'm saying? So when we look at the function of gardening or tilling the earth to grow, to be abundant, husband showing this matrimony between man and Mama Earth. So it says Noah began to be a husband, and he planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine and was drunken. So when we look back at, and God said unto Noah, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh. And we're talking about the bow, that rainbow, all right, that rainbow cloud. So when we look at the 7 colors of the rainbow, the significance of life, the color spectrum, creation, the life force of just all that exists, right? And we see how Romans and how just the mindset in which God said to Noah, right? Which is the most interesting thing. When you look at Genesis, the 8th, you know what I'm saying? This, when the Lord smelled the sweet savor, and the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground anymore for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither again will I smite any more everything living as I have done. So we look at how symbolic the rainbow